Stop scrolling for a second because I bet I can guess exactly what happens when you go to the pet store. You stand in the aisle staring at 50 different bags. One says natural, while the other says premium, and another says holistic. You pick the one with the happiest looking cat on the front and hope for the best. But here's the scary truth. That expensive bag you just bought might be full of fillers, while the cheaper one could actually be better nutritionally. You are essentially flying blind with your cat's health unless you know how to decode the tiny print on the back. Welcome back to Cat Care Academy. I'm here to help you stop guessing and start knowing. Today, we're doing a deep dive into reading cat food labels like an absolute pro. We're going to strip away the marketing fluff and look at the hard data. By the end of this video, you lines be able to pick up any can or bag and know instantly if it's trash or treasure. Alright, stick with me because I'm about to ruin a common myth for you. You've probably heard that you should always look for real meat as the first ingredient, like chicken or beef. Well, that's generally good advice. It's also where companies play their biggest trick on you. Here's the deal, ingredients are listed by weight before cooking. Fresh chicken is about 70% water. Once that kibble is cooked and processed, most of that moisture evaporates and the meat shrinks significantly. So that fresh chicken listed first might actually end up being the 5th or 6th ingredient by weight after processing. On the other hand, you see something called chicken meal. Many people think meal is bad, but it's actually just dehydrated meat. It's extremely concentrated protein, so a food with chicken meal listed second might actually have more animal protein than a food with fresh chicken listed first. And watch out for what we call ingredient splitting. This is sneaky. Manufacturers know you don't want to see corn or rice at the top of the list. So instead of listing just corn, they split it into corn gluten meal, corn flour, and ground corn by breaking it into smaller parts. Each part weighs less and falls lower on the list. But if you added all that corn back together, it would likely be the #1 ingredient. Don't let them fool you with that math. Now, let's talk about the most controversial word in the pet food industry, byproducts. I know you see that word and you probably imagine feathers and beaks and floor sweepings. But if you skip a food just because of this word, you might be making a mistake. In the wild, your cat eats the whole mouse. They eat the liver, the heart, and the kidneys. Those are the most nutrient-dense parts of the animal. In the US, under AAFCO definitions, byproducts are simply the clean parts of the animal other than the meat. This usually means organ meats, which are fantastic for cats because they are loaded with taurine and vitamins. However, there's a huge catch, and this is what keeps you watching. You need to look for named byproducts. If the label says chicken byproduct or beef byproduct, that is generally safe and nutritious. But if you see the words meat byproduct or poultry byproduct, run away. That is a generic term. It means the source animal could be anything, and it changes from batch to batch. We never want mystery meat. So remember, named is good, but generic is bad. Okay, here's where most people get completely lost. You look at a bag of dry food and it says 30% protein. Then you look at a can of expensive wet food and it says 10% protein. You think, wow, the dry food has way more protein, right? Wrong, you're comparing apples to oranges because of moisture. Dry food has about 10% water, while wet food has about 75 or 80% water. To compare them fairly, you have to do a little bit of math called the dry matter basis calculation. Don't worry, it's simpler than it sounds. If a wet food has 80% moisture, that means only 20% of it is actual dry stuff. If the label says 10% protein, you divide that 10 by the 20% of dry matter. That gives you 50% protein, so that wet food actually has significantly more protein than the dry food with 30%. This is critical because cats are obligate carnivores. They need high protein. If you only read the guaranteed analysis on the label without doing the math, you're not seeing the full picture. Always check the moisture content first before judging the protein or fat numbers. Let's move on to the front of the bag, where the marketing team spends all their money. You see words like natural, premium, and gourmet. I hate to break it to you, but most of these words mean absolutely nothing legally. The word natural has a very loose definition, essentially meaning no chemically synthesized ingredients. But it doesn't tell you anything about the quality of the meat or if the animals were raised humanely. And then there's the word organic. This is the only one strictly regulated by the USDA. If you see the official seal, it means something. But if you just see the word holistic, that is purely marketing. There's no legal definition for holistic in pet food. Also, pay very close attention to the product name itself. This is the funniest rule in the book. If it says tuna cat food, it must be at least 95% tuna. But if it says tuna dinner, or tuna platter, or tuna entree, the tuna only needs to be 25%. And if it says cat food with tuna, that tuna only needs to be 3%. The worst one is tuna flavor, that requires almost zero actual tuna, just enough for the cat to detect the taste. So simply changing the word from dinner to flavor changes the entire composition of the food. I'm going to give you a quick hack that I use all the time. It's called the salt divider. In almost every cat food, salt makes up less than 1% of the total recipe. Why does this matter? Because ingredients are listed by weight. So find the word salt in the list. Anything listed after salt is present in such tiny amounts that it barely matters for nutrition. Sometimes you see expensive superfoods like blueberries or spinach or kale listed on the bag to make you feel good. But if they're listed after the salt, your cat is getting virtually none of it. It's what we call label dressing. It's there to attract you, not to feed your cat. So find the salt and focus on everything before it. That's what your cat is actually eating. Before you buy anything, you have to find one tiny sentence, usually hidden in microscopic print on the back or side. It's the AAFCO Nutritional Adequacy Statement. It should say that the food is formulated to meet the nutritional levels for all life stages or specifically for adult maintenance. If you see a food that says for intermittent or supplemental feeding only, put it back immediately. That means it is not a complete meal, it is missing vitamins or minerals. If you feed that as a main diet, your cat will get sick. You'd be surprised how many popular boutique brands fall into this category. Always check for the words complete and balanced. Reading a label feels like homework at first, but once you get the hang of it, you become empowered. You stop falling for pretty pictures and start looking for named meats and specific fat sources, and you learn to ignore the marketing hype. Your cat relies on you to make this choice because they can't shop for themselves. I want you to do me a favor right now. Go to your pantry and grab your cat's current food. Look at the first 5 ingredients and look for that AAFCO statement. Drop a comment below and tell me what the very first ingredient is listed on your bag. Is it what you thought it was, or were you surprised? I read every single comment, and I'm curious to see what we're feeding our cats. If you found this guide helpful, give us a like so we can spread the truth about cat nutrition to more owners. Thanks for watching Cat Care Academy, and I'll see you in the next video.